It started quietly, the way summer rain might begin, unannounced, soft, and barely noticeable, but gradually becoming something you couldn't ignore. I'm 24, currently working on my master's in architecture. I live in a shared apartment off campus with Theo, an engineering undergrad 2 years younger than me. When we first matched through a student housing board, I had my reservations. I'm openly gay, and though it rarely causes issues anymore, you never quite know how someone will react when you're sharing close quarters. Theo arrived on move in day carrying a duffel bag, a skateboard, and a sleepy smile. Tall, maybe 6'1", with tousled dark hair and that lean, wary build you only get from casual sports rather than the gym. He wore a faded NASA tee, shirt and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He was awkward in the most sincere way. And damn it, he was cute. To my surprise, he was completely chill. We clicked almost immediately. Our mutual love for horror movies and Raymond helped. Within a week, the apartment didn't feel like a shared space. It felt like home. But there was a quiet tension I tried hard to ignore. Theo had this way of walking around the apartment shirtless during the summer heat. Not in a showy way, but casually. Like he genuinely didn't think twice about it. He'd come out of the shower in just a towel, humming to himself. It was torture, but beautiful torture. He'd ask me random things. Do I look okay in this shirt? Which of these pics should I post? Once, he came into my room holding his phone and asked me to help him fix his dating profile. We scrolled through photos of him, shirtless at the beach, laughing at a bonfire, mid-air doing a skateboard trick. I kept my face neutral, but my stomach was doing flips. I tried to suppress the feelings. He was younger, straight, off limits. I told myself not to read into anything. But it got harder when we started spending late nights on the couch together. Movie marathons that turned into deep talks. I learned he'd never had a serious relationship. That he was close with his mom. That he hated sleeping alone after watching a scary movie. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. after hearing a door creak. I walked into the living room and saw Theo lying on the couch with the TV still playing. I asked if he was okay. He looked up, eyes a bit red. Just couldn't sleep, he muttered. Bad dream or something. I stood there for a second, unsure what to say, before he scooted over and said, "You can sit for a bit if you want." So I did. We sat there in silence. His arm brushed mine, and for a brief moment, it felt like time slowed. A pair to the arm brush, probably accidental. But I felt it like a spark. We didn't talk about it the next morning. Theo acted normal, made coffee, played his usual playlist of indie, rock and lo-fi. But the silence between us during those early hours kept things some recharged. Not awkward, just loaded. I started noticing more things. How he'd look at me a second longer when I spoke. How his laughter seemed softer when it was just us. How he sat closer than necessary. One Friday evening, we ordered Thai food and binge, watched The Haunting of Hill House. Around episode 5, the lights were off, and we were under the same blanket. No big deal, we'd done it before. But something had changed. Our knees were touching, and neither of us moved away. The tension had shifted from unspoken to almost deliberate. At one point, he turned to say something and realized I was already looking at him. There was a pause, that kind of pause that stretches longer than it should. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, voice quiet. He looked at me for another moment, his face half lit by the flickering TV. "You've been quiet lately?" I shrugged. "Just tired. Deadlines." He nodded but didn't look convinced. The weekend passed, and nothing more happened. But Monday night changed everything. Theo had just come back from a run. Shirt drenched, skin flushed. I was at my desk when he walked into my room holding a protein shake, plopped down on my bed, and stretched like a cat. "Damn, I'm dead," he groaned. "I overdid it." "You look it," I said, unable to help the glance at his abs before forcing my eyes back to my laptop. He grinned. "You should join me sometime. Get out of your head a bit. I prefer yoga, I joked. Then teach me, he said. Fair trade. He stayed lying there, scrolling on his phone, completely comfortable. Me, not so much. My pulse was doing weird things. Then he casually said, Hey, you've seen me shirtless like a million times. Do you think I should change anything? Like, work out more? I turned toward him, frowning. Why would you ask that? I dunno. He looked at me, eyes searching. I guess. I trust your opinion. That made my throat tighten. I gave a neutral answer. Something about how he looked fine and healthy. But he just gave me this look. A look I couldn't quite read, but couldn't forget. Later that week, things escalated without warning. Part 3. It was Thursday night. Theo had bombed a midterm and came home unusually quiet. He dropped his bag at the door and went straight to the kitchen, pulling a soda from the fridge and cracking it open without a word. You okay? I asked, watching him from the couch. He shrugged. Just tired of trying so hard and still messing up. I stood and walked over, leaning on the counter beside him. It's one exam, Theo. One. You've got time to bounce back. He gave a soft smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, well. You always seem to have your life figured out. I laughed, more bitterly than I intended. You think I've got it together. I barely sleep. I overthink everything. My thesis advisor probably hates me. He looked at me then. Really looked. You don't show it. Neither do you. A beat passed. He exhaled, his voice quieter. Sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm pretending to be this confident guy and waiting for someone to call me out. You're not pretending, I said. You're just trying, like the rest of us. He stared at me a second longer, then gently bumped his shoulder against mine. Thanks. That night, we ended up watching something dumb on YouTube. Both of us sprawled out on the couch. He eventually fell asleep, his head tipped sideways, resting lightly against my shoulder. I didn't move. I didn't dare. I sat there, heart thudding, letting the warmth of him settle over me. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. But something had shifted in me. I couldn't unfeel it. The weight of his head, the closeness, the soft breathing. I couldn't file it away as just friends anymore. That weekend, everything broke open. It was Saturday, late afternoon. Theo had gone out for a solo run. I was in my room working when he returned, sweaty, flushed, breathing heavily. He walked in without knocking, like he always did, towel around his neck, shirt clinging to him. He sat on the edge of my bed and dropped his phone. Legs are jelly. I might die. I turned in my chair, laughed. You deserve it. Then he said it. He remember that night I fell asleep on you. My heart stuttered. Yeah, I wasn't actually asleep. I blinked. Oh. I didn't know what to say, and I still don't. But I've been thinking about it a lot. My mouth went dry. Him too. A long silence. Then he looked up, finally meeting my eyes. Is this weird? Us. I don't know what this is. It's not weird, I said. Confusing, maybe. But not weird. He looked at me, eyes flickering with something, fear, maybe, or something softer. Then he said quietly, Can I try something? I nodded. He leaned in slow and unsure and kissed me. Just once. Light, careful, testing the water, and just like that, the line we'd walked all summer blurred beyond return. Bull parrot of 4, the kiss was soft, barely there, but it was real. When Theo pulled back, his eyes didn't leave mine. There was a question in them, one I felt echoing in my chest. I wasn't sure who moved first after that, maybe we both did. But the next moment we were kissing again, deeper this time, with a hesitancy that melted quickly into something electric. His hands were unsure, one brushing against my arm, the other lightly gripping the edge of the bed. My heart pounded so hard, I was sure he could feel it through my chest. But then he pulled away. Not sharply, just enough. He stared at the floor for a few seconds. I don't know what I'm doing." "You don't have to," I said, gently. "We don't have to figure it all out right now." He gave a small nod, lips pressed into a tight line. Then he stood up. "I need a shower." He left without another word, and I sat there for a long time. The air in the room still heavy with everything that had just passed between us. That night, we didn't talk. But the silence wasn't cold. It was thick with the weight of new possibility. The kind that lingers between two people who both just crossed a line and are too scared to look down. Over the next few days, everything felt careful. He didn't bring it up. Neither did I. But the way he looked at me changed. Longer stares, softer tones. The way he'd linger near my room. The way his hand brushed mine a little longer when we passed things to each other. It was subtle, but it was there. Then, on Wednesday night, something shifted again. We were watching a documentary. Some weird one about space travel. He was sitting close beside me, his knee resting against mine, and at some point, I felt his pinky gently curl around mine. He didn't look at me. Just kept watching the screen like nothing had happened. But that little touch said everything. I didn't move. I didn't want to. He leaned in a bit closer, voice low. "I keep thinking about that night." "So do I. I don't want to mess this up, Ot." "You're not." He finally turned to me, his voice almost a whisper. "Then why does it feel like I'm walking on a tightrope?" "Because we're both scared." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Can I sleep in here tonight?" I didn't say anything. I just scooted over and lifted the blanket. That night, we didn't kiss. We didn't touch beyond the soft brush of our arms and the shared warmth of the covers, but I don't think I'd ever felt closer to someone. A part Theo fell asleep before I did. He always does. I lay there in the dark, feeling the rise and fall of his breath beside me, wondering how we'd gotten here. From Raymond and horror flicks to this quiet gravity, pulling us closer in the night. I didn't dare move, not out of fear, but because stillness felt sacred. I didn't want to break whatever fragile thing was forming between us. At some point in the early hours, I must have dozed off too. When I woke, sunlight was spilling through the blinds. Theo was still beside me, curled slightly on his side, breathing slow and even. One arm had slipped across the middle space between us and rested near mine, like it had drifted there unintentionally. I stayed still, unsure of what waking would mean. Would he bolt, laugh it off, pretend like nothing happened? Instead, when his eyes fluttered open, he blinked once, then looked at me and just smiled, not a big, flashy grin, just a soft, sleepy, honest one. "Morning," he murmured. "Morning, Anning." There was a beat. He didn't move his arm. "Did you sleep okay?" he asked. "Yeah, you." He nodded slowly. "Best in a while." We didn't talk about what any of it meant that day, but we didn't have to. There was a comfort in the quiet, in the simple way we moved around each other. Now a little more gentle, a little more deliberate. Later that week, after a long day of classes and projects, I came home to find Theo cooking. Or at least trying to. The kitchen was a minor disaster. "What is this?" I asked, grinning as I stepped in. He looked over his shoulder sheepishly. "I thought I'd cook for once. Repay the master chef." I raised an eyebrow. "You've used 5 different pans." He shrugged. "Aesthetic choices." But dinner was edible barely. But it didn't matter. We ate on the floor of the living room, plates on a cardboard box, laughing through every bite. Afterward, we sat in the quiet,